Let's look at chapter 21 from the workbook. Number 1. Ekenos de elegen peri tu nau tu somatos autu. Subject ekenos and the verb elegen, and peri tu nau is a prepositional phrase. And I'm going to include the rest of these genitives. Lots of genitives piled up in this section. That's okay. Ekenos, nominative singular masculine. De elegen, third person singular imperfect active indicative. Peri tu nau, genitive. Genitive here. Also genitive. The tu autu goes with the somatos. But nominative singular masculine of ekenos, that man, he. Elegen, the imperfect, he was speaking. Peri tu nau, about the temple. This is where the peri takes the genitive. When we're not talking about something physical, not around the block, but around the temple, philosophical temple of his body, of the body. So he was speaking about the temple of his body. Number 2. Kai pas ho oklos erketo pros auton, kai edidasken autus. So we've got 2 different sections here, don't we? We've got this helpful hint that is presented to us in English, but we also have this kai that delineates this section. Quick glance at the second sentence, no verb. So I'm operating under the, no verb. This is the verb. We've got 2 verbs here, erketo and edidasken. I'm operating under the assumption that the subject for the first half of the sentence is also the subject for the second half, because we don't have any nominative in the second half, okay? But pas ho oklos is the subject, pas modifies it, pros auton is a prepositional phrase, and autus is the direct object. There we go. We've understood the structure of the sentence. Let's start analyzing it. Oklos, nominative singular masculine, the subject. The erketo, third person singular imperfect active indicative. Pros is the preposition, takes the accusative singular masculine. And then for the second part, third person singular imperfect active indicative. And autus, accusative plural masculine. And you know what? As I look at this, we'll get to it. I think I was wrong. We're going to change things up a little bit. The whole crowd, kai ho oklos erketo, was approaching him, was coming to him, erketo, and pros auton, and edidasken, he was teaching them. So we have a little shift here. And it's only logic. Grammatically, I cannot express to you the reasons why. It's this. In other words, you could argue that grammatically, the whole crowd was coming towards him and the whole crowd was teaching them. It's just that logically that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? The whole crowd was coming towards him, and he, especially the placement of the edidasken next to the auton. And he was teaching them. Who else would it be? Autos, he was teaching them. We just don't have enough context, so I'm going kind of with a gut feeling, kind of with, probably understanding what this is talking about. And the whole crowd was coming towards him, and he was teaching them. Number 3. Equon de tautapanta hoi pharisaioi. Great. Well, this is a different sentence in that we have the subject at the end. And we have the verb here, equon. And de tautapanta, okay, there's no noun here. Tauta and panta are both adjectives. So we're just going to say one of these is the accusative, and panta modifies the tauta. Tauta is the pronoun. So now that we've understood the the structure, let's start analyzing. Pharisees, nominative, plural, masculine. What were they doing? Third person, plural, imperfect, active, indicative. And this is accusative, plural, neuter. This is your substantive use of the neuter. All these things. We don't have a word for things. We don't need a word for things. We'll just throw it in the accusative. The Pharisees were hearing all these things. Number 4. Esan gar poloi kai ekoluthon auto. Subject, poloi. Oh, well, you know what? Before we even get to the subject, let's look at here. We have this kai. We have really two sentences, or two, we expect with a kai like this, it's either two nouns or two verbs, right? Somebody and somebody did something, or somebody did this and that. And given that we have two verbs right here, esan, ekolus, so we have two verbs. So this is your nominative, plural, masculine. And this is your dative, singular, masculine. And that's okay. You expect a dative with this verb here. With ekoluthun, not surprising to see the dative here. For they were many. Okay, they were many. This is your third person, plural, imperfect, active, indicative. Poloi, again, your substantive use of the adjective. And many, there were many, they were many. Mounce talks about this in a previous chapter, and no, I cannot quote it right now, but sometimes you do have to throw in the word there. There were many. And because they just don't have a word for there, like we do in English, like we would expect in English. And especially the position. If poloi were first, we would expect another adjective. Many were happy, many were sad, many were farmers, many were soldiers. I don't, whatever many were. But we don't. We have the esan first. They were many. And they were approaching him, autu. And this verb just takes the dative. To continue analyzing, third person, plural, imperfect, active, indicative. No surprise seeing the imperfect when it comes to this chapter. This is, after all, the chapter for the imperfect. Number 5. Egapa de ho Jesus ten Marthan, kai ten adelphain autes, kai ton Lazaron. Okay. Here we have these kais again. And unlike the previous sentence, as I've read this through, I see, oh, wait a minute. We don't have multiple verbs. We have multiple nouns. So there's one verb, egapa, and then one subject, Jesus, and then these are all accusatives. So Jesus, okay. As I've said before, we don't want to jump in translating, but let's face it, in the New Testament Greek, you see the word Jesus, we're going to translate it right off the bat without worrying about, grammatically how this fits. So that's okay. Again, I encourage you at this stage of the game to understand the structure of the sentence before you jump in translating. I acknowledge that sometimes you just have to translate Jesus. Okay? So that's what this is. Jesus, nominative, singular, masculine. Third person, singular, imperfect, active, indicative. Jesus was loving who? Martha, accusative, singular, feminine. And Tain Adelphane, her sister, accusative, singular, feminine. Of the sister of her. Notice we have this little genitive, singular, feminine, genitive of the pronoun that refers back to Martha. So Jesus was loving Martha and her sister, and Lazarus, accusative, singular, masculine. Number 6. Kai eperota auton, tionomasoi, kai lege auto, legion ormamoi, hoti poloi esmain. A lot going on in this sentence. We have these helpful little hints there in English, don't we? In the English sentence, with the semicolon and the dots. So those break them up already. And I don't even have to look anymore as I've gone through circling the dots. Hoti, we have another section right there, introduced, and that's fine. So, let's analyze them. Verb, accusative, and we don't know what the subject is. We're going to go with, it's probably included in the verb. Don't worry about analyzing it. Don't worry, translating it. It's right there. Tianama soy. There's not even a verb there. That's okay. There's a dative. We got that dative. Singular. We're going to stick with that at the moment. Lege, accusative. Forgetting analyzing it. I get ahead of myself. I know that. Dative here. And no surprise seeing the dative with the verb of saying. Again, slightly jumping ahead, but at this point, sometimes you recognize verbs. That's fine. Legion onoma soy. Moi, sorry. There's a parallelism, isn't there? We have T onoma soy. Legion onoma moi. Use your clues. Use your parallelism. Again, I don't want you to jump in translating this right away because you will miss that parallelism. You will get hung up on that tianamoi soy and you will forget, oh, wait a minute. There's something parallel happening later on. These two are parallel. That's fine. Hotu poloi esmain. Don't know what to do with that yet. Poloi, subject. Esmain, verb. We expect with a plural subject, a kind of plural verb, and this is a plural verb, but it's the first person plural. Don't know. Again, I want to, and I'm taking a little more time on, here we are, sentence 6, to emphasize to you, don't jump in translating. Just go with understanding what's happening here. Don't force it, I guess is the best way to say it. Don't force a translation based on what you think it should be. That's my point. Eperota, third person, singular. Kairota. Yes, third person singular. Sorry. I'll edit that out. Third person singular, imperfect, active, indicative. I want to make a point that erota, the epe, is the kind of a compound verb. It's got that preposition on the front of it that's attached to the verb, and we use the augment on the root of the verb. That's why there's that eta in the middle. I got mildly distracted by that, accusative singular masculine. And they were asking him, okay? Ti onamai soy. We're missing a verb. Generally, when we're missing a verb, the verb is a verb to be. What name is to you? Dative case means to or for. Dative, what is in reference to you? What is the name? What's your name? And he says third person singular, imperfect active indicative. To him, auto. A lot going on, isn't there? Legion on the name to me. Notice the soy and the moi. The name to me is Legion. Hoti, because, or given that, we are many. Oh, that makes sense. We are many. Not they are many. We are many. So, let's put this all together. He was asking him, what is your name? And he said to him, the other guy, my name is Legion, for we are many. Number 7. Autos gar eginosken tien ento anthropo. I'm just going to jump right in because the last thing I saw, ento anthropo, goes together. We either know how to translate it or we don't. Don't use, because you may recognize the word man. Don't put that anywhere else in the sentence. The word man, anthropo, belongs in this prepositional phrase. Leave it there. Don't bring it anywhere else. Subject autos gar eginosken, sorry. T, accusative. Oh, we have another verb. That's odd, isn't it? A little bit odd. Didn't expect that. but I didn't jump in translating it. Okay, I'll accept that. So this means to me, we have another whole section. For autos, nominative singular masculine, that man, eginoskin, third person singular imperfect, active indicative. He understood, he knew that, or he knew, there you go. For that man knew. There's that first part of the sentence, those three words. For that man knew. Or for he. It's not quite that. It's the softer that man. T, what? Was, ein, third person singular, imperfect, active indicative, and Mounce tells you to memorize the imperfect forms of the verb to be. En to anthropo, in the man. For he knew what was in the man. I honestly don't know the context in this case, but that's what the sentence means. Number 8. Eperoton auton, hoi mathatai, aututain parabolein. So, there we go. There's your subject, mathatai. There's your verb, eperoton, auton. Autu, genitive singular, masculine. Again, I don't want to jump in analyzing things, but when we see a genitive, I'll go ahead and address it. Parabolein. Great. Simple enough. Nominative, plural, masculine. The disciples, they were asking, third person plural, imperfect, active, indicative. This is your accusative. I did not analyze that. Accusative, singular, masculine. We're asking him about the parable, accusative, singular, feminine. Parable is another one of those words. Right, I don't want to jump in analyzing right away, but let's face it, you're going to see parallel in the Greek New Testament, so it's okay. I'll allow your translation of that right off the bat. To his parallel. This is genitive, singular, masculine. Generally, the genitive comes very, very close to the word that it's genitive of. So therefore, the disciples, the students, were asking him about his parable. Number 9. Whoa, long sentence here. Kai meta tauta periepetai ho Jesus, Jesus, ente Galilea, hugar ethelen ento Judeae, peripatein, hoti ezetun auton, hoi Judaioi, apoktenai. Lot going on. Here we go. This is helpful. Hoti is often a word that means it's a good divider because, or given that. Just break that off right off the bat. Don't even have to think about it. We know that Jesus is the subject, and that's the verb. Ente Galilea, all goes together, fine. And you'll notice as we go through these generally, I've said it before, word order is not essential, is not critical. They don't follow the word order like we do in English, but generally Greek, like Latin, is unwilling to break up prepositional phrases, okay? So that's why I'm comfortable just putting those parentheses around that, treating the prepositional phrase all at once. Ugar ethelen, plural, and in ente Judea, peripatein, to tell you this is the infinitive. Third person singular, imperfect. Getting ahead of myself. It's so hard, isn't it? Do as I say, not as I do. There's your verb. And here's your subject. Now let's move on to the clause. Given that, or that, the subject here and the verb. This is your another infinitive, as they tell you, to kill. And it follows after that verb. Let's take a breath. Let's take this one step at a time, despite my slip up here of jumping in and analyzing a verb I recognized. Jesus, nominative singular masculine. Third person singular imperfect, active indicative. Jesus was walking around. Metatauta. I didn't break that up. after these things. Just your substantive use of the adjective. Tauta is accusative, plural, neuter. The substantive use after these things. Remember, Greek, like Latin, is not going to have a word for things. So after these, what? Well, it's the accusative, it's the neuter plural, so you don't need to worry about another word. That's it. After these things, Jesus was walking around in Galilee. 4, and I've already analyzed this, the next verb, he was unwilling. Same subject. He was unwilling. Notice the infinitive here, the complementary infinitive. Not complimentary with an I, meaning, hey, you look great today, but the complementary with an E that completes the thought of the verb. He was unwilling, yes, complete it, finish it. Oh, he was unwilling to walk around, same verb here, to walk around in Judea. Why, given that the Jews, and I neglected to circle the direct object, were wanting, the Jews were seeking, and your complementary infinitive, again, completing the idea, to kill him. So, let's put it all together. And after these things, Jesus was walking around in Galilee. 4, he was unwilling to walk around in Judea because, or given that, the Jews were seeking to kill him. Auton is the object of the complementary infinitive. It's the direct object, accusative singular masculine, but it is the direct object of the complementary infinitive. Number 10. Hoi menun sunelthontes, eroton auton legontes, curie, eento chrono tuto, apokathistanes, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Tein basilean to Israel. So here's your, this is fascinating. Sunelthontes, here's your verb, here's your subject. I don't know what to do with legontes. I mean, I do, but I don't know what to do with it. We're going to move on. Kind of looks like a plural. Oh, and it kind of looks like this other sunelthontes. Ontes. Yeah, let's put those together. That's fine. Then we have this helpful break. Vocative, Lord. Okay. Ento chrono toto. Great. They've told you what this is. This is your verb. And accusative. Probably the direct object, the dative, because there's no preposition. You know what I mean? So that's fine. So we've analyzed the sentence. We have the sunelthontes, whatever that is. They are doing something. They are erotoning. They are moreover, they are erotoning auton. They seem to be legontes also. Great. Let's handle that first part. When they had come together. What this is, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, it's the present participle. They coming together asked him, accusative singular masculine, third person plural, imperfect active indicative, saying, so they were coming together and saying, Lord, at this time, ento chrono, are you restoring? This is the second person singular, present active indicative. Accusative singular feminine, the kingdom to or for, the dative case, to Israel. A lot going on. So I want you, number 1, to analyze, and number 2, notice how I kind of kept with the same word order. Didn't mix it all around. Saying, Lord, ento chrono toto, tuto, at this time, are you restoring the kingdom to Israel? Again, with inflected languages that get their meaning from the end of the words. It's easy to say, I can use the any word order I want. But in this case, I would discourage that. Work with the word order as it comes to you. So that's 1 through 10. Let's look at the next half.